County. This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hi, hello, and welcome to my River District. I'm your host, Viveca Gravel, Community Development Coordinator for the City of Owen Sound, and I am sitting here with my guest, Amelia Kraemer of Upward Art Studio. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
You were on season 1?
I think.
Maybe season 2?
I can't remember.
Either way, if you haven't had a chance to look back at our original episodes, please go do so. They're on our YouTube and on our Spotify and on our social media and just about everywhere else I was allowed to put it, I put it. So go back, watch the old episodes. This is a new episode with Upward Art Studio. So thank you again for coming in today. I wanted to have you back on because you've had so much happen since we spoke last. The summer has happened. You have taken over the world, I'm pretty sure. So tell me about all the stuff that you've been up to. This summer was busy for you.
It was very busy. So the inventory in the store is a lot bigger than it was when we first opened, obviously. So we've expanded our lines and also brought in some new lines of art supply products. And then we are also running children and adult programming, so workshops for kids and adults, and then some for teens as well. So lots of stuff going on.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Yeah, and this summer you had all sorts of summer camps on the go for just about anybody. Yeah,
so the kids one was I can't remember the ages, 5 to 9-ish or 12-ish. And it was a drop, not really drop in because we asked for registrations this year.
Sure.
So it was Tuesday and Thursdays. Then we had Christian Camp, who runs Clay and Designs, who does, she usually, her business is a lot of crochet and handmade items. And she was running a polymer clay class for kids. So that was fun. And then I was running the teen program, and the teens are just hilarious because
they're teenagers.
Because they're teenagers, and there's a lot of eye rolling and a lot of talking about video games, which is lots of fun.
Are they at least good video games?
Well, there was one that was like long drawn out that was not a very good game, but it was a long conversation about. Yes, and there was
my goodness,
teasing about how bad the video game was.
That's fair. I mean, there's a lot of bad ones out there, and sometimes the bad ones are good ones. Just same with movies, right?
Yeah.
Some terrible movies are wonderful movies. So you had the kids there all summer. Mm-hmm. You've updated your inventory. I have to just scream to the world about how much I love your kids section. And by kids section, I mean the stuff that I can do.
Yep.
That I love, that I just continue to buy stuff for. There's everything in there.
Yeah.
I bought my kid like a little portable easel kit thing that has like paints and crayons and all sorts of stuff with this little easel that stands up, and it all just folds into like this tiny little box, which is so great for storage.
That's one of the most popular things for parents to buy or grandparents to buy for kids, because I always say that the kids they keep their stuff separate from like their siblings.
Yep.
So there's not that, fighting going on of, oh, you touch my markers.
Sure.
They're my markers.
That's right.
Right. And they stay in my case. And then everything gets cleaned up because it's in a case.
It just all closes up and locks.
Yep.
And it looks like a little briefcase.
I know, it's adorable.
So like the kids are like carrying it around, and that's worth it just on its own. But then beyond that, you've got little craft kits. I think I made a felt, nuts. What is it called?
Terrarium.
A little felt terrarium. And it like gave you all of the instructions to do it. So you felt like a rock star after. I'm pretty sure it was like 5+. But I was like, yeah, that's my craft.
Yeah.
Oh man. And you've got tons of like air dried clay and paints and.
Yep. So we have we have a lot of supplies for different mediums. So we have acrylic paint and mediums, oil paint and mediums, watercolor paint and gouache, and the mediums for that. We have encaustic, which is painting with hot wax. That's my mediums. Oh, I touched my mic. Sorry. I'll do.
It's quite all right.
Okay, that's my medium. So having that stuff in the store and like actually in the store, because trying to find encaustic supplies in Canada or anywhere in the world is really hard to find. So I think that's something that makes us unique, is that we, one, know about the product and use it and can demonstrate it if we need to. And then, where was I going with that?
I don't know. We love encaustic.
We do love encaustic. And yeah, so having it there and having it,
available. And yeah, I think the first time we spoke, we talked about encaustic and how important it was to you as an artist. And that was one of the driving forces behind opening the studio, because you couldn't find the tools you needed.
Yeah.
So is that a continuation of like the kinds of products that you've been bringing in, or has the community played a part in you bringing in different products and stuff like that?
The community has played a huge part.
Okay.
So we do, as long as we can find it from a distributor, we can get it.
Okay.
And if we don't want to stock it completely, there's certain things obviously that we do want to stock completely. But if it's like a one-off thing or like a special size of canvas or panel, we can definitely order that in.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, every time I come into your store, I touch things I probably shouldn't touch.
No, it's all touchable.
I shouldn't be allowed places, which is basically what I'm saying.
It's all touchable. And like my art is touchable. You're supposed to touch encaustic art.
Well, because it's multi-layered and
you're
different
supposed
textures.
to buff it, right? With your hand. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it makes it shiny and lovely and
that's
luscious.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But you have all of these clay working tools and paintbrushes, obviously, of every size and every kind of material you can think of. Great kid stuff. I just go to the kid stuff. This is my domain. I'm not allowed to touch anything else. But anyways,
so we have some printmaking things, lots of paper, inks, and then we have like not novelty, but like that type of thing. So we have a whole bunch of buttons that are Canadian made. So they're mostly made by a woman in Ottawa, and so it's her collection of buttons, and there are a lot of feminist movement buttons, and then
some are sassy,
some are very sassy. Yeah, they're good.
No, I love that. I love everything in your store, and I love the energy that you get when you go into your store. It is so colorful, which you would expect from your kind of store, because you literally have colors of the entire spectrum in your store. So why not put it on the walls?
Yeah.
And you guys do. And you guys bring in, is there aprons at the back? I feel like there's aprons or pants or something.
I made some aprons for the kids.
Okay.
So they were, I found the loudest and craziest fabric that I could at the fabric store, and sewed some cute little kids' aprons so that they have aprons that fit them, because the adult ones, they look like dresses, right? So and they were tripping over them. So I just made little smaller ones.
Of course, you just like brought out a sewing machine. You're like, oh, not only am I an incredible artist, but I can also sew.
I'm not very good at sewing, but I try.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. So you were talking about the different kinds of paints that you have. Can you kind of give us a full kind of array of the different kinds, not like brand name per se, but like the different kinds of paints that we can find within your store? So
with the acrylic, I am going to name drop.
Okay.
So we have some Liquitex, Golden, and Amsterdam.
Okay.
So those are 3 different brands. And we have a bit of Liquitex, or not Liquitex, Triart. Okay. So Triart is a Canadian company in Kingston. The other 3 are mostly American. Amsterdam is actually from the Netherlands. So those are all a water-based paint. Okay. That clean up with water. So they're very easy to use. They dry fast. You can paint over them with other acrylic paint. Okay. Yeah. So they're really, for someone starting out in art, they're fabulous because they're very easy to use. Kids can use them too. It doesn't wash out of clothes very well. So yeah, like wear an apron. There is a way to, so, okay. The hint to get acrylic paint. Hot tip. The way to get acrylic paint out of clothes is Murphy's oil soap, and you pre-treat it. I know it's like a floor cleaner. Okay. But it's also the best brush cleaner too. So yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Insider knowledge. I'm sure you've had clothes you've had to get paint off of before.
Oh yeah. I had a pair of jeans that I splattered like green paint all over.
Oh no.
And
you didn't just think to continue to cover it with paint to make it like a thing?
No, because it was thick and
that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And I don't really like green, so I didn't want green pants.
Fair enough, I guess. So okay, you've got acrylic paint, which is very like comfortable for an entry level. It can also be an expert level, but comfortable for an entry level.
We have watercolor, which is I say it's one of the hardest mediums to use. People usually think watercolor is very easy, and that's usually their go-to when they're first starting to paint. There's no really an eraser. There's no way to like back up to what you did before, which is can be really frustrating for new people to art. So it's still a great medium. Yeah. It's just harder than people think.
I feel like watercolor is really hot right now, though. I don't know if it's TikTok or Pinterest or whatever. There's all these different techniques to make flowers or hydrangeas, which is also a flower, and all those kinds of things that you see these people perform on their social media, and you're like, oh wow, I can totally do that, and you pick it up like, what, I can't do that.
No, and you have to remember about videos that you see online is they probably recorded that 10 times before they got the right thing.
I need somebody to continually tell me that, because you see these videos, you're like, I can totally do that. You do it, you're like, I can't do that.
And art is like just like piano. Like you have to practice.
Right.
You have to practice. Even if you choose watercolor as your media and that's going to be your media, then you just have to practice.
Well, and I know that my grandmother used to have oil paints. Yep. And I don't know if that's like a time period thing or if that's a specific kind of artist.
It's a specific type of paint. Yeah. So acrylic paints have only been around since plastic was invented because it's a plastic. Weird. It's actually a plastic. So oil paint is old, like very old, like ancient civilizations old. So it doesn't clean up with water.
Gotcha.
There are ones that do clean up with water. They're just a little bit different, but the regular oil paint doesn't clean up with water. You need a mineral spirits. Okay. So it has solvents in it. So some people are very sensitive to smells. So it's not something that somebody like that would want to use. Like they wouldn't want to use that because of the smell.
Okay. And just before we go to break, are oil paints something that you carry?
Yes.
Okay. So you do have those for the more expert level.
Well, and it's not really expert. It's a different way of, it's just a different way of painting. It takes longer to dry. So you have more open time, which some acrylic painters want. Okay. So yeah, oil paint, it's 1 million years old. It's one of the most used paint in the world, probably.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll learn more about that and the kinds of paints and the stuff you have in store when we come back from this break.
Hi, I'm Krista McKee of Wandering Grey Bruce. This season, we will be meeting some really interesting people. We're going to go visit Thornbury in the Clarksburg area, just to name a few. We will be going glamping, learning about some garlic, and checking out some live edge furniture.
And you can see all the little wormholes in here.
And it's smooth. Watch us on Rogers TV or online.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
Welcome back to my River District. I'm sitting here with my friend Amelia from Upward Art Studio. And before we left off, we were talking about oil paints and how they can be a big pain in the butt because they take forever to dry.
Well, if that's what you want,
I guess.
Yeah.
But as a novice, you probably want something more like acrylic that will dry almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to finish up our conversation about the types of paint. So you've got watercolor, you've got acrylic, you've got oil paints. Are there other paints?
We have encaustic paint.
Okay.
And then we have printmaking. So printmaking is more with inks.
Okay.
And so it would be like screen printing, block printing.
Do you have all the tools to be able to do that as well, or just the supplies?
We have some of the supplies. So GB Arts, Georgian-based Center for the Arts, they run printmaking classes.
Okay.
So we would be the place to come get your supplies if that was something that you wanted to continue with.
I love that kind of collaboration. That's fantastic. Okay, and then the encaustic. Okay, you're gonna have to explain to me again, and you had to do it in our first episode, which again I suggest you go watch. What is encaustic?
So encaustic is beeswax mixed with a tree resin.
Okay.
And the tree resin makes the wax harder and also raises the melting temperature.
Okay.
So the hardness is the wax is going to be harder than like a beeswax candle.
Okay.
And they're nice, and the paintings are nice and glossy, and they have a lot of luminosity and depth. So what you do is you pigment the wax to different colors, and then you paint with it.
Okay. All right, I'm with you.
And then as you go, you need to heat one layer to the layer below. So you have to use fire the whole time.
Well, that sounds fun.
It is fun.
Who doesn't love to play with fire?
Exactly. It is fun. And we do teen classes.
Okay.
Like we start at, as long as you're 13, we can teach you encaustic. And
That's very cool.
Yeah. I've taught
And
it
so
to
you did
teens.
summer camps for that specifically. Is there anything to look forward to for PD days?
PD days, it's going to be geared towards teens again, because I feel like they get left out a lot.
They do.
Yeah. So we're doing a different one each PD day.
Okay.
Probably the first one will be like a collage and then a line drawing on top. So it's really accessible.
Okay.
Even if you feel your child is not super artistic, it's still something that will get them out of the house and get interacting with other people their age.
It helps them with their gross motor skills.
Yeah.
Are you still developing those? Anyways,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's great.
Yeah.
Sign your kid up. Well, it is. It's a great way to keep them off the couch for the day, learning
away
a new...
from their phones, away from their computers
Yes.
and games, and
How many hours does it usually run?
that one's an hour and a half.
Okay, so it's very accessible for
Yeah.
somebody to go to that. It doesn't take away their whole day. They can still hang out with their friends.
Yeah. And they can come as friends. So there's certainly been some groups of friends that come, and they all do art together and
That's so lovely.
gossip and do all the
Talk about video games.
talk about video games and silly TV shows, and
I love that. Oh man, I really love that. So these PD days are specifically geared to those teens, but they will complete a project on that day, correct?
Yeah. Yes. They will take home project on that day.
Perfect. Everybody has a short attention span. They need stuff done. Me, that's mostly me.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me again, for those people who didn't watch the first episode and stuff like that, tell me a little bit more about kind of your store philosophy and how you got to be where you are as a business owner in the River District.
So the philosophy of the store is I and my employees feel that art is for everyone. It's not a, snooty type thing that is only for the rich people that maybe buy art, but art is for every age, every gender, every sexual orientation, every race, every social economic status type thing. So I really strongly believe that everyone is an artist in some way. And some people will go, oh no, I'm not an artist, but maybe you bake.
I bake.
Maybe you garden.
I don't garden.
Maybe you knit, right? Those are those are all things that are creative, and you're making choices. For baking, you're decorating and saying what ingredients go together. Right. So
no, I think you're absolutely right. And to have a space like Upward Art Studio that is available and accessible to so many people is very, very important in our community.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit more about the history of your store. When did you come to be?
So we originated as a studio in Elora. So so I was traveling to Elora. I lived in One Sound, but was traveling to Elora because I shared studio space with 2 other women, and I was finding it really hard to find studio space here that was accessible to the public. There are certainly studios available, but they are, you know, you need a freight elevator to go up to the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
Like that type of thing that I wanted people to be able to walk through and like see me paint and not just like me paint by myself in a little hole and become depressed and all this stuff because I never see people. So, so during COVID, I couldn't really get to the studio. For part of COVID, the studio was actually closed to the public. Well, to all of us, to all of this. Yeah. Anyway.
COVID was a weird time.
It was a weird time. So there was, you know, I was paying rent and I couldn't use my studio. And so I started thinking, okay, well, if this like continues, I'm going to need somewhere like close to home.
Yeah.
And yes, I had studio space in my home, but it was like a little tiny bedroom that was full to the gills with stuff. Right. So I started looking around, and my realtor, I was ready to buy a building, and we couldn't, with my realtor's help, we couldn't find anything that was really appropriate. So then he found this place that I'm in now, and he's like, well, maybe we should just go look at it. Right. So I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I could see this happening.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, she's located in the original location of Bear Birch.
Yeah.
That was actually a dress salon.
Yes, it was a fancy dress salon.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, Grace's Dress Salon.
Yes. And it has original wood floors.
Yes.
Which are creaky, but in the most charming way.
Yes. I feel like they're like Fulfords.
Yeah.
Right? Like you walk around, like I feel like it's old hardware store floors.
Yeah, kind of that same vibe, right?
Yeah.
But very like eclectic and cool and original and
Yeah.
you know, all those kinds of things. So it's just kind of heartwarming to walk into that space. And then of course Simon and Jackie put effort on the walls and into the fixtures and things like that, which you were able to use once they moved into their permanent space. So it's so lovely that that space is still being used for something so beautiful. Recently, you guys completed the Owen Sound Community Studio Tour.
Yes,
I was going to say that wrong if I didn't write it down.
A mouthful.
So tell me about that. I was telling you over our break that we recently had a wheel and ride, which, trying to put together a calendar for our viewers and our listeners, would have happened in the past weekend. And it was very successful, but we found so many people just wandering the River District with these giant maps of these studios that were open for people to just wander into. So tell me about this, how it came to fruition and everything.
So when I moved the studio back to Owen Sound, I was part of a really great studio tour in Elora Fergus. Like that studio tour has been going on for probably like 40 years. And they have about 40 to 50 artists each year. And it's really well received. And every year that I was in it, I got more and more clients.
Okay.
Right. So I knew that was something, and I knew that Owen Sound had a huge population of artists. Like it's huge.
Like massive. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was no like studio tour, and there's no like arts group, like formal arts group that is in Owen Sound. So I feel like that formal arts group is maybe going to take shape eventually. Okay.
Maybe we just need somebody like you.
But the studio tour was something that my friend Caroline and I wanted to really get going.
Okay.
We kind of, imagined it in January of 2023.
Things take time to plan.
Yeah, and usually studio tours take more than a year to plan. Okay. So it was very, okay, let's just do it. So we got my friend Ruth from Dandelion Web Design made our website. She made a form for everybody to fill out, and we took registrations. And then, so the studio tour, it's 23 artists this year. Next year, we hope to have more. We divided the city up. Mm-hmm. So it was the downtown core from basically Harrison Park to Murray's Tool Sharpening, whatever that is called, the warehouse for the artists. It's called the warehouse.
Okay, but it's Murray's Sharpening. It's just past Physiotherapy 3, like Metro, National Grocers, and then it's the big warehouse that's at the end of that. Yeah.
So that was this past weekend, which anyway, and then so the weekend of the 23rd is the rest of the city.
Okay.
And it's fabulous, just fabulous.
I was thrilled to see the amount of people on foot in the core going to these places and you guys just had your studio doors open basically. And it was just a free invite for people to come in and check it out.
Exactly. Yeah. So all the studios are free to enter. The downtown core is completely walkable if you have the ability. Yeah. If not, then cycling or there's lots of parking.
Yeah, there's free parking in the River District, so that's fine.
Yeah. And some studios had guest artists, so I had enough space to have guest artists. So I had 2 other artists at the studio with me. One of the people at the warehouse had another guest artist with her, and one near Harrison Park had a guest artist with her. So it's very, it was so exciting to see all these people and being able to interact and to show people what our artwork is, and to be able to talk about our artwork with the public. And it was amazing.
Yeah. And you guys had a beautiful map and everything was really well done. If you're saying it normally takes more than a year, you killed it. You killed it. It was so good. Really, really well done. And I'm just glad that it was such a success for you, and I hope you do it again in the future. I have one last question for you.
Yep.
We have 1 minute left. Why do you, as a local, love it here?
I grew up here. So, and when I finished school, I moved back here because I got a job right away. And I love Owen Sound. It's so community oriented, and there's a huge art community here. Yeah. And I want to be a part of that and want to be a part of the community. So,
well, thank you for being such a wonderful community member and a forward thinker in the art community, and that person who's just, pushing it all to the next level. And you get your official Locals Love It Here badge of honor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I've had such a wonderful time talking to you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And for any of you who want to have a little chat with Amelia from Upward Art Studio, go and find her in the River District. We'll see you next time.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
I'm Nicole Martin, the proud ambassador for the Comfort Bear program. Comfort Bears provide these cuddly bears to local children who are terminally ill, facing trauma, or battling a serious illness. Every $20 donation will place a Comfort Bear into the loving arms of a child involved in our program. It is our hope to distribute 1,000 bears in 2022. Please join us and provide comfort to kids in their time of need.
The regulars, the guys who keep this place in business. Last week, they had something to celebrate. Jason had just finished university, so they toasted his profs, his TAs,